So poops, if you listen to BFM 89.9, there's a good chance that you're trying to grow your career, grow your business, whatever have you, terpulang. But for Andrew Chong, that's not what happened. Cause see, while he was reading BFM, this man didn't grow his career. No, he ended it. So poops, Andrew Chong was the CEO of MyBurgerLab. If you don't know what it is, it's an amazing burger chain owned and run by Chin Ren Yi, fellow Mensa member apparently. That would have been an interesting M-chat. But anyway, they sell these burgers that are delicious, halal, and the company's been doing well. They opened shop on July the 10th, 2012, which incidentally was Mahathir's 87th birthday. And now, 13 years later, they are now a million ringgit per year company with 6 outlets. They were projecting 75 million for 2025, but God knows how that projection is gonna go, especially since what happened. The story is that good old Andrew was reading BFM one day and he found this article right here about how Muslim men in Terengganu who skip Friday prayers without valid reasons now face fines of up to 3,000 ringgit or 2 years jail under amendments to the Sharia criminal offences enactment. Which is like, okay, interesting, none of my business. But to which Andrew responds by saying, wow, slowly but surely, if Malaysia is taken over by extremism, we will become Iran after the revolution, i.e. what you see today, and that should scare everyone. And before you know it, the internet goes ballistic. I mean, he only had something like 300 plus followers, but before you know it, his tweet, posted on 21st August, ends up getting multiple tens of thousands of views, comment after comment, angry message after angry message, exchanges of emails. Pandora's box is fully open. Within just that single day, the man finds himself on a Reddit thread on Boleh Land titled LOL COO MyBurgerLab Kena Pecat. Andrew immediately profusely apologized. I don't know how many people are actually going to take that apology right there, especially given the whole comments right here asking for people to resign. For all the people who click like to be prosecuted, clearly emotions are hashtag running high. And there we have it. All those years running the company conclude in a little note that starts with, we are deeply saddened by a personal social media post from our former COO Andrew Chong. So yeah, no employment, no affiliations. They're apparently going to do training with Jakim, which is interesting. And here you have it, classic Malaysian internet just casually discussing this entire thing from now until kingdom come. Some decrying, some praising, some concluding that this proves that Terengganu was extreme, but most people concluding that Andrew was dumb. To be fair, if you have a personal social media profile and then you want to flex your COO position at the burger company that people went to after they boycotted McDonald's, and you're not careful about what you write, right? It's kind of obvious that was going to cause a problem. I mean, just think about it, right? Like, if he had stayed on, or if the company had actually tried to protect him, before you know it, you'll have people protesting in front of MyBurgerLab, asking the CEO to resign, starting a boycott campaign with Akmal Saleh right at the forefront, and the entire enterprise can shut down. That is literally how dangerous it is to make a statement like this. And I'm not just saying that from a dollars and cents perspective, because this is also a common sense or values thing, which I think by this point, most people would have internalized after living in Malaysia and kind of understanding that this kind of thing can easily blow out of proportion, even if you didn't want it to. I mean, for one thing, right? You're not even Muslim, so why do you want to gepo so much? I guess would be the standard argument. The whole idea that, well, this is Sharia law, it doesn't affect you personally, you comment also, it's not going to affect you, it's going to affect a whole bunch of other people whose way of life is not your way of life, so you should mind your own business. And to be fair, I kind of understand that logic, and I can see why people would want to listen to Muslim people talk about that, why people wouldn't want to listen to a non-Muslim talk about that, when maybe they might want to listen to a Muslim instead, such as this guy.
Korang rasa patut tak keputusan kerajaan negeri Terengganu ni untuk hukum orang yang tinggal sembahyang Jumaat dengan sengaja tanpa sebab yang munasabah?
Okay, so yeah, no comment on that. Point is that that is the kind of person who can actually speak up about that topic. It's not Andrew Chong, who is Chinese, who is not Muslim, and who is not actually going to be affected by the law. So for him, it's kind of none of his business, however much he actually does care about this topic, because there's no way that his speaking out or voicing concern would ever be viewed in a good way. I mean, sure, it's good to care about other people, but if you think about it, Andrew Chong's care is Probably the kind of care that would be appreciated just about as much as the care of the wonderful Sukri Omar for the Malays of Singapore, and you know where that got him. More broadly though, I think there's an even more important subtext than, oh, he's not qualified to speak up about this specific issue, which is about presuming that your values are superior to other people's. You know, living in Malaysia, you soon realize that as a very diverse society, and one that's multicultural, we have to be very careful about how we speak about one another because we come from different worlds that are kind of like melding together in this little melting pot that we call Malaysia. The Chinese, we have our pantangs in the same way that the Indian and Malay communities have their own, and I think one big basis of harmony is just not getting involved.
Unless people actively ask you in the context of celebrations or otherwise.
You might not like it. You might say that it is the heritage of British colonial divide and rule, but whether you like it or not, like, that is our reality. I mean, if we want to be totally fair, it's kind of like this guy and almost everybody out there who casually declare semoga mendapat hidayah as if somehow their values are so-called wisdom, and all of you out there are unwise, unenlightened. You have to come in. But thankfully, that's not really something that does happen in Malaysia. I think most people, they do understand and respect this balance, and they are not like that person with his unwanted hopes. You know, I find this super interesting in light of the amendment of Section 233 of the CMA, whereby now offensive and annoy were removed from the CMA and offensive was replaced with grossly offensive, whereby a whole bunch of people have been going around celebrating even though the government is probably going to appeal that decision. And rightly so, because it's a win for democracy, free speech, and that whole shebang. And it makes me think that Andrew's statement probably wouldn't pass the threshold of grossly offensive. And for all intents and purposes, under MCMC regulation, he probably wouldn't get punished for making a statement like that. But of course, that didn't stop MBL from terminating his employment and a whole universe of people basically coming out and potentially protesting against him, and I don't know when that boycott is gonna happen. What's the other conclusion of this? Well, I guess maybe it's better not to talk about things if they aren't going to affect your life. And to a degree, I guess any concern that you might want to express for the community, while well-intentioned, probably isn't going to be welcomed by the community itself. And if it's going to be expressed, then it's probably going to have to be expressed by influencers like the guy that we saw earlier. But I think fundamentally, it's not your business. If you're not a Muslim, you're not affected by the law, so better not to kepo. Well, anyway, it is what it is. It's too late. Not sure what's going to happen to MBL or to Andrew for that matter, but it's probably not going to be pleasant. And if anything, I hope, Andrew, that you'll take this as a small lesson in understanding human nature. Alright, that's all to say about that, and bye.